My husband forgot to hang up the call, and I heard him telling someone, "Our marriage is awful, but I'm only with her because of her family's money." Just wait a little longer, Monica. Hello everyone. Thank you for being here with me today. Before I begin my story, grab a warm cup of tea and get comfortable. I'd love to know what time of day you're watching this video. Please comment M for morning, A for afternoon, or E for evening. Now, let me take you into this story. I was standing in the center of my kitchen, the one with the Calcutta marble countertops that I had spent 3 months selecting, chopping rosemary for a lamb roast. It was a Tuesday, but not just any Tuesday. It was the 5th anniversary of the day Garrett and I had bought this house. I remember feeling this overwhelming sense of gratitude, the kind that feels warm and heavy in your chest. The late afternoon sun was streaming through the bay windows, casting long, golden shadows across the floor, and the house smelled like garlic and home. I was happy. I was so incredibly, stupidly happy. My phone, which was sitting on the counter next to the spice rack, buzzed. The screen lit up with Garrett's name and that goofy photo of him wearing a baseball cap backward that I took on our honeymoon in Cabo. I wiped my hands on my apron and swiped to answer, tucking the phone between my ear and shoulder so I could keep seasoning the meat. "Hey, honey," I said, my voice bright. "I'm just prepping the roast. What time do you think you'll be home?" "Hey, Val," Garrett's voice came through, sounding a bit breathless, like he was walking fast. "Look, I'm going to be stuck at the office for a while longer. The quarterly reports are a mess, and the partners are breathing down my neck. Don't wait up for dinner, okay? I'll grab something here." I felt a little pinch of disappointment, but I pushed it down. "Oh. That's okay. I can save you a plate. Just try not to work too late, all right? It is our house anniversary, remember?" Right. The house. "Look, I've got to go." "Love you." "Love you too," I said. I heard the click of what I thought was him hanging up. But the line didn't go dead. The timer on the screen kept ticking. He must have shoved the phone into his pocket without hitting the red button. I was about to hang up myself, shaking my head with a small smile at his forgetfulness, when I heard the rustling of fabric, followed by the sound of a car door slamming shut. He wasn't at the office. The acoustics were all wrong. It was the muffled, enclosed silence of his BMW. I froze. My thumb hovered over the end call button, but something, maybe instinct, maybe the universe whispering a warning, made me stop. Then, I heard his voice again. It was different this time. The professional, stressed tone he used with me was gone, replaced by a casual, arrogant drawl that made my stomach turn over. "God, she is so needy," Garrett said. The clarity of the Bluetooth system in his car was terrifyingly high definition. "It's always something. The house, the dog, the charity gala. I feel like I'm suffocating." I stood perfectly still. The knife in my hand felt suddenly heavy, cold steel against my damp palm. I stopped breathing. A woman's voice answered him. "Well, you're the one who wanted the trophy wife lifestyle, Garrett. You can't have the mansion without the high-maintenance wife." My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. That voice. I knew that voice. It was familiar, woven into the fabric of my life for 15 years. But my brain refused to process it. It couldn't be. "Our marriage is awful," Garrett groaned. I could hear the sound of him starting the engine. "It's just a performance, day in and day out. But I'm only with her because of her family's money. You know that. The old man is sick, really sick this time. Once the inheritance settles, things will be different." "You keep saying that," the woman replied, her voice dropping an octave, sounding sultry and annoyed all at once. "But I'm getting tired of waiting in the wings while she plays house with you." "Just wait a little longer, Monica," Garrett said, his voice dripping with a sickening kind of tenderness I hadn't heard in years. 2 years, max. Once I get access to the trust fund without the marital clauses, I'm gone. I'll leave her with the house and the dog, and we take the cash. She won't even see it coming. She's too comfortable. She thinks her life is a fairy tale. Monica. The name hung in the air of my beautiful kitchen like a toxic cloud. Monica. My best friend. My maid of honor. The woman who held my hand when I had a miscarriage. The woman who came over for wine nights every Thursday. The woman who I had just texted an hour ago to see if she wanted to join us for brunch this weekend. She is pretty clueless, Monica laughed, a cruel, sharp sound that sliced through me. Did she actually believe you were working late again? God, it's almost too easy. I'd feel bad if she wasn't so pathetic. Don't feel bad, babe, Garrett chuckled. Think about the penthouse in Miami. Think about the boat. It's all going to be ours. Just let me handle Valerie. She's soft. She's never had to fight for anything in her life. Taking her down will be like taking candy from a baby. I didn't drop the phone. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there, staring at the raw lamb roast on the counter, realizing that the life I was marinating and seasoning was rotting from the inside out. My hand, the one holding the butcher knife, started to shake. Not a little tremble, but a violent vibration that traveled up my arm and settled in my chest. Just make sure you delete the call log this time, Monica said. You were sloppy last week. Relax. She suspects nothing. She trusts me. And she trusts you. We're golden. I moved the phone away from my ear and pressed the red button with a finger that felt numb. The silence that rushed back into the kitchen was deafening. It wasn't peaceful anymore. It was the silence of a tomb. I looked around the room. The custom cabinets. The imported tile. The photos of us on the fridge, Garrett and me in Paris, Garrett and me at Christmas, Garrett and me with Monica at the lake house. In every picture, I was smiling, looking at him with adoration. And in the photos with Monica, she was always standing just a little too close to him, her hand on his shoulder, her smile sharp. How had I not seen it? I walked over to the sink and dropped the knife. It clattered loudly against the metal, a harsh, jarring sound that finally broke the trance. My legs gave out. I sank down onto the cold tile floor, pulling my knees to my chest. I gasped for air, but it felt like the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. My husband. My best friend. They weren't just cheating on me. They were conspiring against me. They were planning to bleed me dry and leave me with nothing. They were laughing at me. Pathetic. Clueless. Soft. I sat there on the floor as the sun went down, casting the kitchen into darkness. I didn't turn on the lights. I let the darkness wrap around me. Because in that darkness, something in me snapped. The soft, comfortable Valerie they were mocking died on that kitchen floor. And something else, something cold, hard, and incredibly angry, began to wake up. I picked up my phone again. The screen was black. I saw my reflection in it, eyes wide, face pale, tear-streaked. I wiped the tears away with the back of my hand. 2 years? I whispered to the empty room. You won't last 2 months. I sat on the kitchen floor until my legs went numb. The house grew completely dark around me, save for the blue light of the digital clock on the microwave. 7:42 p.m. The lamb roast sat on the counter, unseasoned, uncooking, slowly warming to room temperature. It seemed fitting. Everything else in my life was spoiling, too. In the silence, my mind became a projector, replaying the last 15 years of my life on the blank white cabinets. I didn't want to see it, but I couldn't stop it. Monica. We met in our senior year of college. She was the scholarship student, hungry and sharp-edged, and I was the art major with the loaded dad, as Garrett had so eloquently put it. I thought we were soulmates. I thought her sharpness balanced my softness. When I cried over a bad critique in design class, she was the one who told me to toughen up. When I met Garrett 3 years later, she was the one who vetted him. "He's hot, Val," she had said, swirling her Pinot Grigio in my first apartment. "And he's ambitious. He's not intimidated by your money. That's rare." I remembered my wedding day. Monica in that silk lavender dress I had paid for. She was crying during the vows. At the time, I thought they were tears of joy for me. Now, sitting in the dark, I replayed that scene. Were they tears of jealousy? Or was she already sleeping with him then? The thought made me gag. I pulled my knees tighter to my chest. I thought about all the girls' nights. The times I confided in her about Garrett being distant. "He's just stressed, Val," she would say, patting my hand with her perfectly manicured nails. Men act weird when they're building an empire. You need to give him space. Don't be that nagging wife. She wasn't comforting me. She was coaching me. She was training me to be the perfect, compliant doormat so they could carry on right under my nose. And Garrett. My charming, handsome husband. The man who swept me off my feet when I was 23 and feeling lost in the shadow of my father's massive success. My father, Arthur, had built a real estate empire from nothing. He was a shark in a suit, intimidating and brilliant. Garrett was the first man who didn't seem scared of him. "I don't care about your dad's money," Garrett had told me on our third date, looking deep into my eyes. "I care about your talent. You're going to be an incredible designer, Valerie." Lies. All of it. I had given up my career for him. When we got married, he suggested I take a break from the interior design firm I was working at to manage our life. He said his career in finance required a stable home base. He needed me to host dinners, network with wives, manage the contractors for our renovations. I did it. I buried my dreams of opening my own gallery because I thought we were building a life together. "She's too comfortable," he had said on the phone. He mistook my devotion for laziness. He mistook my trust for stupidity. I stood up, my joints cracking in the quiet kitchen. I felt like a stranger in my own body. I walked over to the drawer where we kept the junk, takeout menus, spare keys, batteries. I dug to the back and pulled out a pack of cigarettes Garrett had left there a year ago when he was quitting. I didn't smoke. I hated the smell. But right now, I needed to do something destructive. I didn't light one. I just held it, rolling the paper between my fingers, staring out the window at the swimming pool shimmering in the moonlight. My father had warned me. On the day of my engagement, my dad took me into his study. "Valerie," he had said, his voice gruff. "Garrett is polished. Too polished. A man who always says the right thing is usually hiding the wrong things. You just don't think anyone is good enough for me," I had argued. "No," Dad replied. "I don't think he looks at you the way a man in love looks at a woman. He looks at you the way a man looks at a winning lottery ticket." I had been so angry with him. I barely spoke to him for a month. "God, Dad. You were right. You were always right." A wave of nausea hit me. I ran to the powder room off the kitchen and retched into the sink, nothing but bile and acid coming up. I rinsed my face with freezing cold water. I looked at myself in the mirror. My mascara was smeared, my skin looked gray, and my eyes looked old. But as I stared at my reflection, the panic began to recede, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. They thought I was weak. They thought I was a trophy wife who couldn't survive without them. They thought they could manipulate me, steal my inheritance, and toss me aside like yesterday's trash. Garrett had mentioned 2 years. He was waiting for the trust fund. My father's health was declining, he had a heart condition, and Garrett was banking on him dying or the trust maturing. That was his timeline. I grabbed a towel and dried my face roughly. 2 years, I whispered to the mirror. You don't get 2 years, Garrett. You don't even get tonight. But I couldn't blow it up yet. If I confronted them now, with nothing but a phone call I didn't record, they would gaslight me. They would say I was crazy, that I misunderstood, that it was a joke. Garrett was a master manipulator, and Monica was a professional liar. I needed proof. Hard, undeniable, legal proof. I needed to know where the money was going. I needed to know how deep the rot went. I walked back into the kitchen. I turned on the lights. The sudden brightness hurt my eyes, but I forced myself to adjust. I picked up the lamb roast and dumped it into the trash. Then I grabbed the bleach spray and started scrubbing the counter. I scrubbed until my knuckles turned white. I was scrubbing away the naive Valerie. I heard the garage door rumble open. Panic flared in my chest, hot and sharp. He was home. I had seconds to compose myself. I couldn't let him see the shaking. I couldn't let him see the rage. I had to become the actress he claimed I was. I had to play the role of the clueless wife one last time. I took a deep breath, smoothing down my apron. My heart was pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Traitor, traitor, traitor. The door from the garage opened. Garrett walked into the kitchen, loosening his tie with one hand and carrying his briefcase with the other. He looked exactly the same as he did this morning. The same expensive suit I had picked out for him. The same perfectly styled hair. The same handsome face that I had woken up next to for 5 years. But now, looking at him was like looking at a monster wearing a human skin suit. Hey, babe, he said, dropping his briefcase on the island. He let out a dramatic sigh. God, what a day. I am absolutely beat. He walked toward me, arms open for a hug. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to run, to grab the knife again, to scream. Instead, I forced my feet to stay planted. I forced the corners of my mouth up. Long meetings? I asked. My voice sounded thin to my own ears, brittle like dried leaves, but he didn't seem to notice. He never really listened to the tone of my voice, only the words. Endless, he groaned, wrapping his arms around my waist. He pulled me in close. And then I smelled it. It wasn't just the stale office air or his usual cologne. Beneath that, clinging to the fabric of his shirt, was a scent I knew better than my own. Santal 33. Leather, sandalwood, and cardamom. It was Monica's signature scent. It was the perfume I had bought her for Christmas last year. A $300 bottle of betrayal. The smell assaulted my senses. It was so strong it felt like she was in the room with us, mocking me. He had been with her. He had probably been in her bed, or in that car, just minutes before walking through this door to hug me. I held my breath to keep from gagging. I turned my head slightly so his kiss landed on my cheek instead of my lips. You smell like, distinct, I said, pulling away gently, pretending to need to check something on the stove. New cologne? He didn't even flinch. Oh, no. Must be the new air freshener in the Uber. My car is in the shop, remember? I had to Uber home. Liar. I had heard his car door slam on the phone. I had heard the Bluetooth connect. The lies came so easily to him, rolling off his tongue like poetry. Right, I said. The shop. Where's dinner? He asked, looking around the clean kitchen. I thought you were making that lamb. I burned it, I lied. I got distracted and left it in the oven too long. It was inedible. I threw it out. He frowned, a flash of irritation crossing his face before he smoothed it over. Val, seriously? That was a $50 cut of meat. I know, I'm sorry, I said, making my eyes wide and innocent. I'm just so scatterbrained lately. You know me. Clueless. I used his own word. I wanted to see if it registered. He just chuckled, shaking his head. Well, that's why you have me. To keep you on track. It's fine. I'll just order sushi. He walked out of the kitchen, pulling his phone from his pocket. I watched his back, feeling a cold hatred settle in my gut. He was texting her. I knew it. He was probably telling her, the idiot burned dinner. Missing you already. That night, lying in bed was a form of torture I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. He showered before bed, scrubbing off Monica's scent, no doubt, and climbed in beside me. He reached for me, his hand sliding across my hip. Not tonight, I said, my body going rigid. I have a headache. A really bad one. You always have a headache lately, he muttered, rolling over and turning his back to me. I waited. I lay there in the dark, listening to the rhythm of his breathing change as he drifted off to sleep. I counted the minutes. 10. 20. 30. When his breathing was deep and even, a soft snore escaping his lips, I moved. I slipped out of bed, silent as a ghost. My heart was hammering in my throat. I crept over to his nightstand where his phone was charging. Garrett was careful, but he was also arrogant. He thought I was too comfortable to snoop. He changed his passcode every few months, but I usually watched him enter it. It was 1985, his birth year. I picked up the phone. It felt like holding a grenade. I tapped the screen. The light seemed blinding in the dark room. I entered the code. 1-9-8-5. It unlocked. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. I went straight to his messages. Empty. He had deleted the thread with Monica. Of course he had. Just make sure you delete the call log, she had said. I checked his call history. Clean. I went to his contacts. I scrolled down to M. Monica wasn't there. That was strange. Even if they were hiding the affair, she was still our friend. Why wouldn't she be in his contacts? Then I remembered something. A notification I had seen on his phone weeks ago. Accountant. I scrolled up to a accountant. I tapped it. The number was Monica's. I knew her number by heart. I opened the message thread for accountant. It wasn't empty. He had missed deleting this one, or maybe he thought hiding it under a fake name was enough security against a clueless wife. The texts were vile. Garrett, she burned the roast. Can you believe this woman? Useless. Monica, poor baby. Come over tomorrow morning after she goes to yoga. I'll make you breakfast. And dessert. Garrett, I can't wait to be done with this charade. Did you talk to the lawyer about the trust loophole? Monica, yes. We need her signature on the joint investment form first. Work on that this week. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. They weren't just sleeping together. They were actively plotting to steal my inheritance through a joint investment. I took my own phone from my pocket and took photos of the screen. Click. 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 Evidence. I needed everything. Suddenly, Garrett shifted in bed. He groaned and rolled over, his arm flopping onto the empty space where I should have been. Val, he mumbled, his voice thick with sleep. I froze. I was standing 5 feet away, the blue light of his phone illuminating my face. If he opened his eyes, if he saw me. Val, he said again, louder this time. He started to sit up. I shoved his phone back onto the nightstand, my heart stopping. I rushed toward the bathroom, flushing the toilet loudly to cover the noise of my movement. I'm just in the bathroom. I called out, my voice trembling. Go back to sleep. I heard him sigh and the rustle of sheets as he lay back down. I leaned against the bathroom door, sliding down until I hit the floor. I looked at the photos on my phone. I had the smoking gun. Now, I needed the ammunition to bury them. The next morning, the doorbell rang at 9 a.m. sharp. I was in the kitchen, forcing myself to drink coffee and look normal, though I hadn't slept more than an hour. Garrett had already left for work, or so he said. The text from last night said he was going to Monica's for breakfast. I opened the door. There she was. Monica. Standing on my porch in a white sundress, holding a box of pastries from the expensive bakery downtown. She looked radiant. She looked like sunshine. She looked like a liar. "Good morning, sunshine," she chirped, breezing past me into the foyer without waiting for an invitation. "I brought cronets. I know you're trying to cut sugar, but life is short, right?" The audacity was breathtaking. She had literally just come from sleeping with my husband, and now she was in my house, feeding me pastries. "Hey, Mon," I said. It took every ounce of willpower not to slam the door on her fingers. "You're early. I haven't even showered." "Oh, don't worry about it. You look tired, actually. Everything okay?" She set the box on the island and leaned against the counter, tilting her head with that fake concern I used to mistake for empathy. "Just a rough night," I said, pouring her a cup of coffee. I made sure to use the mug with the chipped rim. "Petty?" "Yes. But it was all I had right now. Garrett has been working so late. He didn't get home until after 7, and then he was just exhausted. I feel like I barely see him." I watched her face closely. I wanted to see the micro-expressions. Monica took a sip of coffee, hiding her smile behind the rim. "Ideally, men working hard is a good thing, Val. He's building a future for you guys. You should be supportive." "I know," I sighed, leaning my elbows on the counter. "But sometimes I worry. You know, late nights at the office, men get lonely. Do you think he could be seeing someone?" I dropped the bait. Monica didn't even blink. She set the mug down and reached across the counter to squeeze my hand. Her skin felt cold. "Valerie, stop. You do this to yourself. You get paranoid. Garrett is obsessed with you. He worships the ground you walk on. Who would he cheat with? He doesn't even have time to eat lunch. He has time for dessert with you," I thought. "I guess you're right," I said, pulling my hand away. "He's just been acting distant. And there was this smell on him last night. Perfume." For a split second, I saw it. A flicker of panic in her eyes. It was gone as fast as it came, replaced by a smooth mask. "Perfume?" She laughed, but the pitch was a little too high. "Val, he probably hugged a client. Or maybe it was the soap in the office gym. You are reading way too much into this. Honestly, you need a distraction. How is the design for the guest room coming?" She was good. I had to give her that. She pivoted the conversation away from danger seamlessly. "It's fine," I said. I looked at her neck. She was wearing a silk scarf, tied tightly. It was Hermès. I recognized the pattern. It was the Brides de Gala print. "Nice scarf," I said. "Is that new?" Monica's hand flew to her neck, fingering the silk. "Oh, this?" "Yeah. Treated myself. Closed a big deal on a condo downtown." "Funny," I said, my voice deadpan. "I saw a charge on our credit card statement last month for Hermès. Garrett said he bought a gift for his mother. But I swear, his mom hates orange." The room went silent. The air conditioner hummed. The cronets sat in the box, untouched. Monica stared at me. Her pupils dilated. Well, she stammered. That is weird. Maybe he bought her a bag? Or maybe he's surprising you and hasn't given it to you yet? Maybe, I shrugged, turning away to rinse my mug. Or maybe he has a mistress with expensive taste. I turned back to face her with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Just kidding, Mon. You're right. I'm being paranoid. Monica let out a breathy laugh, but she looked rattled. She checked her watch. I have to run. I have a showing at 10:30. I just wanted to drop these off. Run along, I said. Thanks for the cronets. I watched her walk to her car. She was walking fast, almost running. She pulled her phone out before she even got to the driver's side door. She was calling him. Good, I thought. Be scared. Panic makes you sloppy. As soon as her car disappeared around the bend, I went to my home office. I couldn't just play mind games. I needed access to the real records. Garrett handled all our finances. He said it was too complicated for me and that I shouldn't worry my pretty little head about taxes and investments. I needed to get into his laptop. The real one. Not the iPad he left in the living room. The MacBook Pro he kept in his study. The one he never let me touch. Garrett's study was the one room in the house I rarely entered. It was his sanctuary. Dark wood paneling, leather chairs, the smell of old paper and arrogance. He kept the door locked when he wasn't there, but I knew where the spare key was. It was taped underneath the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet in the garage. A trick he thought was clever, but I had seen him retrieve it once when he locked himself out. I retrieved the key, my hands covered in garage dust. I walked to the study door and slid the key into the lock. It clicked. The room was freezing. He kept the AC cranked down low in here. I went straight to the desk. The MacBook was there, closed. I opened it. Password required. I tried 1985. Incorrect. I tried Valerie. Incorrect. I tried money. Incorrect. I took a deep breath. Think, Valerie. Think like him. He's narcissistic. He's obsessed with Monica. I tried Monica. Incorrect. Damn it, I whispered. I had 3 attempts left before it locked him out and sent a notification to his phone. I looked around the room for clues. There was a framed photo on his desk. It wasn't of me. It was of him, shaking hands with some CEO, receiving an award. The date on the award was May 12, 2018. I tried 051218. Incorrect. 1 attempt left. My palms were sweating. If I locked this computer, he would know someone tampered with it. He would know I was onto him. Game over. I closed my eyes. What mattered to him? Not me. Not his parents. Money. Monica. I remembered the text message from last night. I can't wait to be done with this charade. What was the name of the shell company I suspected? Or maybe. I remembered something Monica said years ago. We were drunk on wine, and she was talking about her lucky number. She said her life changed the day she met Garrett. Not me. Garrett. They met before I introduced them, didn't they? That was a suspicion I had buried deep. When did they meet? College graduation? No. Wait. The name of the boat he wanted. He always talked about buying a boat named Freedom. I typed in Freedom. Incorrect. System locked. Notification sent. My heart stopped. The screen turned red. System disabled. Alert sent to administrator. I gasped, slamming the laptop shut. Oh my God. I had triggered the alarm. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from Garrett. Garrett, why is my computer showing a login attempt at home? Are you in my office? I stared at the text, terror flooding my veins. He knew. He was probably tracking the location. He knew I was in the study. I had seconds to come up with a lie. A lie so believable it would override his paranoia. I grabbed a dust rag from the cleaning cart in the hallway. I ran back into the study. I knocked over a stack of papers on his desk, scattering them on the floor. I grabbed a glass of water he had left and poured a tiny bit on the edge of the desk, making it look like a spill. I took a picture of the mess and sent it to him. Valerie, I am so sorry. I was dusting in here, the door was unlocked, and I bumped the desk and knocked your water over. I opened the laptop to make sure water didn't get on the keyboard and I think I mashed some keys. Is it okay? I'm freaking out. I held my breath. It was a risky lie. It played into his narrative that I was clumsy and domestic. Dusting. 3 dots appeared. He was typing. Garrett, Jesus, Val. You nearly gave me a heart attack. Stay out of my office. I have client confidentiality files in there. Is the computer wet? Valerie, no, dry as a bone. Just the desk. I'm cleaning it up now. I'm so sorry, honey. Garrett, fine. Just leave it. Lock the door when you leave. Don't touch anything else. I exhaled, sagging against the desk. He bought it. He bought it because he thought I was stupid. But now I had a problem. I couldn't get into the computer. I was locked out, and he would change the password tonight. I had lost my window to the digital evidence. I needed another way. Physical evidence. I looked at the filing cabinet in the corner. It was locked too. But unlike the computer, a lock could be picked, or prying open. No. Too obvious. I looked at the trash can. It was empty. He shredded everything. Wait. The shredder. I walked over to the heavy-duty shredder in the corner. It was full. A clear bin packed with crosscut confetti. Most people think shredded documents are gone. But if you have patience and enough rage, you can reconstruct them. Especially if the shredder is older and the strips are just vertical, not confetti. I looked closer. This was a crosscut, but the pieces were large. I grabbed a garbage bag. I emptied the entire contents of the shredder bin into the bag. I would take this to my parents' house. I would spend all night taping it back together if I had to. I tied the bag, hid it in my laundry hamper under a pile of dirty towels, and walked out of the study, locking the door behind me. I didn't get the digital files. But I had a bag full of his secrets. I drove to my parents' house that afternoon. Mom was out at her bridge club, but Dad was in his library. Dad, I said, walking in with the black garbage bag slung over my shoulder like Santa Claus from hell. I need your big conference table. And I need Scotch tape. A lot of it. Arthur looked at me over his reading glasses. He didn't ask why. He saw the fire in my eyes, the fire he had been waiting 30 years to see. The mahogany table is clear, he said. I'll get the tape. We spent 6 hours. 6 hours of sifting through thousands of strips of paper. My back ached. My eyes burned. But slowly, piece by piece, a picture began to form. It wasn't just a simple affair. It was embezzlement. Look at this, Dad said, sliding a reconstructed document toward me. His voice was low and dangerous. It was a bank statement from an account I didn't know existed. The account name was JNG Holdings. Jessica, no, that was a different friend. Manji, Monica and Garrett. They have a joint account, I whispered. Look at the deposits. $5,000. $12,000. $8,500. The dates corresponded exactly with withdrawals from our joint savings account. He had been labeling them as home repairs, contractor fees, and tax payments. He's been siphoning money for 2 years, Dad said, tracing the lines with his finger. Valerie, look at this transfer here. $50,000. When? Last month. Labeled investment seed. I gasped. He told me he lost that money in the stock market crash. He cried, Dad. He literally cried in my arms about how sorry he was that he lost our vacation fund. He hadn't lost it. He had given it to Monica. Then we found the smoking gun. A document that had been shredded into larger chunks, as if he had jammed it in too quickly. It was a draft of a power of attorney. I, Valerie Sterling, hereby grant Garrett Miller full power of attorney over my assets, including the Arthur Sterling Family Trust. At the bottom, there was a signature. Valerie Sterling. I stared at it. It looked exactly like my signature. The loop on the V, the sharp T. I never signed this, I said, my voice shaking. Dad, I never signed this. He's practicing, Dad said grimly. Or he's already forged it on the real copy. This is a practice run, he shredded. He's trying to steal the trust, I realized. He said on the phone, once I get access to the trust fund without the marital clauses. This is how. If I sign a power of attorney, or if he forges one, he can drain it before you even die. Dad stood up. He walked over to the window and looked out at the grounds of the estate he had built with his bare hands. When he turned back, he looked like a general going to war. He wants my money? Dad said softly. I'm going to make sure the only thing he leaves this marriage with is a criminal record. What do we do? I asked. Do I confront him? Do I call the police? No, Dad said. If we call the police now, he claims it's a misunderstanding. He claims the signature is real. We need to catch him in the act of using it. We need him to commit the crime fully. We need a trap, I said. Dad nodded. We're going to give him exactly what he wants. Or what he thinks he wants. We spent the next hour plotting. It was terrifying, but also exhilarating. For the first time in forever, I wasn't the victim. I was the architect. I drove home with the evidence hidden in the trunk of my car. I pulled into the driveway just as the sun was setting. Garrett was home. I could see his silhouette in the living room window. I put on my game face. Tonight, I was going to deliver the performance of a lifetime. I walked into the house, making sure my eyes were red and puffy. I had rubbed them with a little onion juice before coming in, an old theater trick. It stung like hell, but it sold the look perfectly. Garrett was on the couch, watching sports. He looked up, annoyed, but when he saw my face, he put on his concerned husband mask. Val? What's wrong? You've been gone for hours. I was worried. I dropped my purse on the floor and collapsed onto the chair opposite him. I let out a ragged sob. It's Dad, I choked out. Garrett sat up straighter. The boredom vanished instantly. Arthur? Is he okay? Is it his heart? No, I sniffled, grabbing a tissue. It's worse. It's the business. The business? Garrett was on the edge of his seat now. His eyes were wide, predatory. What happened? The IRS, I lied. And the SEC, Dad called me over today. He's in trouble, Garrett. Serious trouble. They're talking about an audit. Freezing assets. They think there's been irregularities. Garrett's face went pale. Frozen assets? What does that mean for the trust? That's the worst part, I wailed. Dad says to protect the family money, he might have to dissolve the trust temporarily. Or donate a huge chunk to charity to avoid penalties. He's talking about liquidating everything. He can't do that. Garrett shouted, standing up. That's insane. He needs a better lawyer. He needs to protect the assets. He's scared, Garrett. He thinks he's going to prison. Garrett began pacing the room, running his hands through his hair. I watched him. He wasn't worried about my father going to prison. He was worried about his payday evaporating. Okay, calm down, he said, though he was the one hyperventilating. There has to be a way around this. Did he mention transferring anything? To you? Before the freeze? Gotcha. He mentioned it, I said, sniffling. He said if we moved the liquid cash into a secure, joint investment account under my name, maybe the government couldn't touch it. But it has to happen fast. Like, this week. Garrett stopped pacing. He looked at me, and I saw the greed override his brain. This was it. The opportunity he had been waiting for. If the money was moved to an account under my name, which he controlled via the forged power of attorney or simple manipulation, he could steal it and run before the audit even happened. That's smart, Garrett said, his voice trembling with excitement. Your dad is smart. We should do that. We should help him. But I don't know anything about investing. I cried. I'm scared I'll mess it up. Garrett came over and knelt in front of me. He took my hands. Valerie, look at me. I'm a finance professional. This is what I do. I can handle it. We can set up the account. I'll take care of all the paperwork. You just need to trust me. I do trust you, I whispered, looking into his deceitful eyes. You're the only one I trust. He smiled. It was the smile of a wolf who just saw the gate to the sheep pen left open. I'll make some calls. I'll get the paperwork ready for tomorrow. Don't worry, babe. We're going to save the family fortune. Okay, I said. Thank you, Garrett. He stood up and kissed my forehead. I need to go to the office. I need to get the files prepared. Don't wait up. He wasn't going to the office. He was going to Monica's. He needed to tell her the bad news about the audit and the good news about the transfer. Go, I said. Save us. As soon as the door closed behind him, I stopped crying. I wiped the onion tears from my face. I pulled out my phone and texted Dad. Valerie, the rat took the cheese. He's moving fast. Dad, good. The trap is set. Let him run. I knew Garrett was going to meet Monica. I needed to hear what they were saying. I needed to know their exact plan for the transfer. 2 days ago, while Garrett was in the shower, I had slipped a small, magnetic voice-activated recorder under the driver's seat of his BMW. It was a gadget the private investigator Dad hired had given me. It had a long battery life and uploaded to a cloud server whenever the car was near an open Wi-Fi signal. Garrett parked in the driveway before leaving for the office. The recorder synced with the house Wi-Fi. I sat in my bedroom with my headphones on, listening to the audio file that had just uploaded. The sound of the engine starting. The radio. Then, the sound of him dialing a number. Pick up, Garrett muttered. Hello? Monica's voice. Code red, Garrett said. And code green. It's a mess, but it's also our ticket out. What are you talking about? The old man is being audited. The feds are swarming. He wants to dump the cash to Valerie to hide it. What? Monica shrieked. If the feds are involved, isn't that risky? Garrett, I don't want to go to jail. Shut up and listen. Garrett snapped. The mask was off. This is better. Instead of waiting 2 years for the trust to mature, she's going to voluntarily transfer the liquid assets to an account we control. She thinks it's to hide it from the IRS. Once the money hits the account, I wire it to the Cayman Shell Company, and we disappear. We leave her to deal with the IRS. My blood ran cold. He wasn't just planning to steal. He was planning to frame me for tax fraud and leave me to face the federal government while he sipped mojitos on a beach. Are you sure she'll sign? Monica asked. She's terrified. She was crying her eyes out. She begged me to save us. She's so pathetic, Monica. It's actually sad. Don't get soft on me, Monica hissed. Get the money. How much are we talking? 5 million. Maybe 10. Liquid. Silence on the line. Then Monica laughed. 10 million? Okay. Okay, baby. Do it. Get her to sign tomorrow. But Garrett? Yeah? If you screw this up, if you leave me exposed, I will bury you. I have the emails, remember? I know, Garrett said, his voice tight. We're in this together. Partners. Partners, she echoed. But there was no love in it. Only leverage. I took off the headphones. My hands were trembling, but not from fear. From adrenaline. They were turning on each other. Monica was threatening him. Garrett was panicking. Partners, I whispered to the empty room. Let's see how loyal you are when the ship starts sinking. I had the recording. I had the intent. I had the conspiracy. Tomorrow, Garrett would bring me the papers to sign. And I would sign them. But not the papers, he thought. And not for the account, he thought. I was going to sign a death warrant for his career. I walked to the window and looked out at the night. The moon was full. Just wait a little longer, Monica, I repeated the words from the text thumbnail. You want a show? I'll give you a show. To be continued. If you are still listening, please like this video and comment the number 1 below. It lets me know you are amazing, and I know you are with me on this journey. Your support is a huge encouragement to me. Comment 1 so I can recognize you, and now, listen to me tell the rest of my story. The morning sun hit the kitchen island with a brutal, exposing glare that made the headache throbbing behind my eyes feel like a physical weight. I hadn't slept. How could I? I had spent the night lying rigid on the far edge of the mattress, listening to the man breathing next to me, wondering if he was dreaming of me or the millions he planned to steal from my father. Every time he shifted or mumbled in his sleep, my heart hammered against my ribs, terrified he would wake up and somehow smell the betrayal on my skin. Garrett didn't go to work. That was the first sign that his timeline had accelerated. Usually, he was out the door by 7:30 a.m., chasing the hustle, or at least pretending to. Today, he was still in his silk pajamas at 9 a.m., pacing the living room floor, his phone glued to his ear. He wasn't screaming, which was almost worse. He was whispering. That harsh, sibilant whispering that sounds like a snake moving through dry leaves. I stood at the espresso machine, watching him through the reflection in the stainless steel. He looked manic. His hair was messy, and there was a frantic energy in his movements that I had never seen before. He was a man who saw the finish line and was terrified of tripping over his own shoelaces. Valerie, he said, walking into the kitchen. He startled me, and I spilled a drop of hot coffee on my hand. I hissed in pain, but he didn't even ask if I was okay. He didn't even look at my hand. We need to talk about the transfer. Did you call your dad's office yet? I turned to him, clutching my burning hand, using the physical pain to ground my performance. Garrett, I told you last night. Dad is meeting with the auditors all day. He sent me a secure message saying we can't do anything until he gives the signal. He's terrified they're monitoring his phone lines. He's paranoid, Garrett snapped, running a hand through his unwashed hair. The auditors don't monitor phones without a warrant, and they don't get a warrant this fast. He's wasting time. Every hour we wait is an hour the IRS has to freeze the accounts. Do you understand what that means, Val? It means zero. It means we lose the house. We lose the cars. We lose everything. He wasn't worried about the house. The house was in my name. He wasn't worried about the cars. He was worried about his exit strategy. He was worried about the boat and the penthouse in Miami he had promised Monica. I know, I stammered, playing the part of the terrified, incompetent wife to perfection. But I can't just move $10 million without his authorization codes. You know how the trust is set up. It requires dual authentication. Even if I sign, the bank needs his digital key. This was a lie. A calculated risk. I had full access. But Garrett didn't know that. He thought my father controlled the purse strings with an iron fist, a narrative I had maintained for years to avoid arguments about money. I can bypass the dual authentication, Garrett said, his voice dropping low. He took a step closer to me, invading my personal space. The smell of stale coffee and nervous sweat radiated off him. I have contacts at the bank. If we have the signed power of attorney and the transfer request, I can push it through manually. We just need to sign the papers today. My stomach turned over. He was willing to commit bank fraud right in front of me. He was admitting to conspiracy. I wished I was wearing a wire right now, but the recorders were in the car and the study. But isn't that illegal? I asked, widening my eyes, letting my lip tremble. It's a gray area, he lied smoothly, placing his hands on my shoulders. His grip was tight, bordering on painful. It's expediting. It's protecting family assets. Look, Val, Monica is coming over in an hour. She's bringing the notary seal. She knows a guy who will backdate the stamps for us. Monica? I asked, letting a note of genuine confusion slip into my voice. Why is Monica involved in the legal paperwork? She's a realtor, Garrett. She sells condos, she doesn't handle trust funds. He froze for a second. Just a microsecond. I saw the gears grinding in his head as he scrambled for a plausible lie. She's helping us, Val. She has experience with title transfers and asset protection from her real estate deals. She's doing this as a favor. She's risking her license for us because she loves you. You should be grateful. Grateful. He wanted me to be grateful to the woman who was sleeping with him in my bed. He wanted me to thank the executioner for sharpening the axe. Okay, I said, looking down at the floor, feigning submission. I'm sorry. I'm scared. I don't want to go to jail. You won't go to jail, he said, his voice softening into that manipulative purr I used to mistake for love. I'm going to take care of everything. Just go get dressed. Wear something nice. We need to look pulled together when she gets here. I went upstairs, my legs feeling like lead. I walked into my closet, the massive walk-in closet that I had designed myself, and stood there, staring at the rows of designer dresses. They felt like costumes for a play I no longer wanted to be in. I reached for a blue silk blouse, and my hand brushed against my jewelry box. It was a large, antique velvet box that had belonged to my grandmother. I paused. I hadn't opened it in a few weeks. A sudden, cold intuition pricked the back of my neck. I lifted the lid. My heart stopped. The air left my lungs. The velvet cushion in the center was empty. My grandmother's sapphire necklace. The one she had worn to her wedding in 1950. The one my father had given me on my 30th birthday. It was a massive, deep blue sapphire surrounded by diamonds, a piece of history that was irreplaceable. It was worth more than Garrett's car. It was gone. I frantically pulled out the drawers of the jewelry box. I checked the hidden compartment. I checked the safe in the corner of the closet. The safe was locked, but when I opened it, the velvet pouch where I sometimes kept the necklace was missing too. Panic, cold and sharp, pierced through the act I was playing. This wasn't part of the plan. This wasn't just money. This was my history. This was my grandmother's soul. I ran back downstairs. Garrett was in the living room, aggressively typing on his laptop. "Garrett," I said, my voice trembling for real this time. "My sapphire necklace. Nana's necklace. It's gone." He didn't look up. "What?" "You probably misplaced it, Val. You're always losing things lately." "No," I said, my voice rising. "I don't lose that necklace. I keep it in the safe or the box. It's gone. We need to call the police. Someone has been in the house." Garrett slammed his laptop shut. He looked at me with a mixture of annoyance and condescension. "Valerie, stop. No one has been in the house. The alarm system hasn't been triggered. The cleaners haven't been here in 3 days. You lost it. Or maybe you moved it when you were drinking wine last week and forgot. I did not lose a $50,000 necklace." I screamed. "And I don't drink wine alone in my closet." "Lower your voice," he hissed, standing up. "You are hysterical. This is exactly why your father doesn't trust you with the business. You panic over nothing. You probably left it at the hotel when we went to the gala last month." "I wore the pearls to the gala," I said, tears of frustration pricking my eyes. "I haven't worn the sapphire in 6 months." "Then maybe you lost it 6 months ago and just noticed," he said dismissively, turning his back on me. "We have bigger problems right now. $10 million is on the line, and you're crying about a piece of jewelry? Focus, Valerie." He walked past me into the kitchen to get more coffee. I stood there, shaking. He stole it. He must have. He needed cash for something, maybe a down payment on that boat he mentioned, or maybe he pawned it to cover his tracks on the joint account withdrawals. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a notification from Instagram. I had created a fake account, DesignLover88, to stalk Monica's public profile since she had blocked me from seeing her stories on my main account days ago. I opened the app. Monica had posted a story 10 minutes ago. It was a selfie. She was in her car, wearing big sunglasses and that smug smile. The caption read, "Morning meetings. Boss babe energy." And there, around her neck, tucked slightly under the collar of her silk blouse but unmistakably visible, was a flash of deep blue stones surrounded by diamonds. My breath hitched in my throat. I zoomed in. The setting was unique, Art Deco, platinum filigree. It was Nana's necklace. She wasn't just stealing my husband. She was wearing my grandmother's legacy like a cheap accessory to a business meeting where she planned to help rob me. The rage that exploded in my chest was so hot it felt like I had swallowed a coal. I wanted to drive to her office and rip it off her neck. I wanted to scream until the windows shattered. But I couldn't. Not yet. If I confronted her about the necklace now, the whole plan would blow up. They would know I was watching. They would know I wasn't the clueless wife. They would run, and they would take the money trails with them. I took a screenshot of the photo. I saved it to the hidden folder. I walked into the kitchen. Garrett was pouring sugar into his coffee. "You're right," I said, my voice dead calm. "I must have misplaced it. I've been so stressed. I'm sorry. Garrett turned, surprised by my sudden capitulation. He smiled, a smug, victorious smile. It's okay, babe. We'll find it. Or hey, when this deal goes through, I'll buy you a new one. A bigger one. That would be nice, I said. A bigger one. I looked at his neck, exposing the jugular vein as he drank his coffee. I imagined, just for a second, what it would feel like to tighten a noose around it. Is Monica here yet? I asked. I'm ready to sign. Monica arrived 20 minutes later. She wasn't wearing the necklace. She must have tucked it away or taken it off before coming inside, knowing it was too risky to wear in front of me. That meant she knew it was stolen. She knew exactly what she was doing. It wasn't a gift she thought Garrett bought, it was loot they shared. She laid the documents out on the dining table. The atmosphere was stifling. The air conditioner was humming, but I felt sweat trickling down my back. Here's the new draft, Monica said, sliding a pen toward me. Garrett said you were worried about the routing numbers, so we double-checked everything. It's all standard. We're moving it to the holding company, Sterling Assets LLC, just like you asked. I looked at the paper. It was a fake LLC. I knew because Dad and I had checked the registry. It was a shell company registered in Delaware 3 days ago. I sat down. I picked up the pen. My hand hovered over the signature line. Wait, Garrett said. He walked into the room carrying a glass of water and 2 small white pills on a napkin. Here, he said, setting them down next to the paper. You look pale. You're hyperventilating again. I found some of your anxiety meds in the cabinet. Take them. It'll help you focus. I looked at the pills. They were white, round, generic. I looked at Garrett. I don't have a prescription for anxiety meds, Garrett. I took Valium for my back spasm 3 years ago. Those expired. These are new, he said quickly. Too quickly. His eyes darted to Monica. I got them for myself. From my doctor. For the stress. But they're mild. Just take them, Val. You're shaking. I don't want you to panic mid-signature and ruin the forms again. I looked at the water glass. The water was slightly cloudy. I felt a chill run down my spine that had nothing to do with the AC. He was trying to drug me. He wanted me docile. Maybe he wanted me to pass out so he could forge the signature himself, or maybe he just wanted me too groggy to ask questions about the fake notary stamp Monica had brought. Or worse, maybe he was planning on me overdosing. A grieving husband inherits faster than a divorced one. I needed to get out of this room. I needed to switch the documents for the trap version Sterling had given me, but I couldn't do it with 4 eyes watching me. I don't like taking pills, I said, pushing them away. Just take them. Garrett snapped, his patience fraying. Stop being so difficult. We are trying to save your family's fortune and you are acting like a child. Garrett, Monica warned, her voice tight. Don't yell at her. She turned to me, her voice syrupy sweet. Val, he's just worried. Drink the water. You don't have to take the pills if you don't want to. But stay hydrated. I need to use the restroom, I said, standing up abruptly. My stomach. I think I'm going to throw up. Valerie, sit down. Garrett shouted. He reached for my arm. I jerked away. I'm going to vomit, Garrett. Do you want me to vomit on the $10 million contract? He recoiled. Go. 2 minutes. Then you sign. I ran to the powder room and locked the door. My hands were trembling violently now. I pulled the honeypot documents out of the lining of my blazer. I had taped them there earlier. I flushed the pills down the toilet. I poured the water into the sink. I looked at myself in the mirror. My face was pale, my eyes wide. "You are an actress," I whispered. "You are Meryl Streep. You are winning an Oscar." I folded the fake documents Garrett had given me and shoved them into the wastebin under a pile of tissues. I pulled out the FBI tracked documents Sterling had prepared. They looked identical, down to the font. I walked back out, stumbling slightly. I made my eyelids droop. I slurred my words just a fraction. "I took them," I mumbled, sitting down heavily. "I think they're kicking in fast. I feel floaty." Garrett exchanged a look with Monica. A look of triumph. They thought I had taken the bait. "Good," he said softly. "That's good, babe. Just relax. Now, sign right here." He pointed to the line. I placed the trap documents on the table. "Is this the one?" I asked, squinting, playing up the drugged act. Yes, Garrett said, practically vibrating. "Just sign, Val." I signed. Valerie Sterling. I signed the trap. I signed his prison sentence. "There," I sighed, dropping the pen. "Is it done? Are we safe?" Garrett snatched the papers. He didn't even check them. He just saw the signature. He was blinded by greed. "We're safe," he breathed. "We're rich. I mean, we're safe." Monica let out a long breath, smiling at me. "I'll take these to the bank immediately to initiate the wire," she said, reaching for the folder. "No," Garrett said. "I'll do it. I want to make sure the manager sees my face. I want credit for this." "Garrett, you should stay with Val," Monica argued. "She's drugged. You can't leave her alone." "She's fine, she's just going to sleep." Garrett waved a hand at me like I was a piece of furniture. "I'm going to the bank. This money moves today." He kissed me on the top of the head. "Good girl, Val. You did good." He grabbed his keys and ran out the door. Monica lingered for a moment, looking at me with something that might have been pity, but was probably just contempt. "Sleep it off, Val," she said. "I'll let myself out." She left. As soon as the front door closed, I sat up straight. The grogginess vanished. The slur disappeared. "Good girl," I mocked his voice into the empty room. "You have no idea." The next 48 hours were a masterclass in deception, a psychological endurance test that pushed me to my absolute limit. Garrett was euphoric. He came home from the bank that afternoon with a bottle of expensive scotch, strutting like a rooster. "It's done," he announced, pouring himself a glass. "The wire is initiated. It takes 24 to 48 hours to clear international compliance, but the bank manager said it's in the system." "That's wonderful, honey," I said, sipping my herbal tea to calm my nerves. "Did Dad call?" "I haven't spoken to him," Garrett said. "Best to keep radio silence until the money is safely in the holding account. We don't want to spook the auditors." He was so confident. He thought he was playing 4D chess, while I was watching him play tic-tac-toe against himself. On Friday, I went to the storage unit I had rented under my maiden name. I stood amidst the boxes of my life, my art supplies, my grandmother's china, the photo albums. I realized how little of us I actually wanted to keep. The memories were tainted. I received a text from Sterling. "Sterling, the Eagle has landed. The wire transfer hit the FBI dummy account at 2 p.m. today. They have the trace. They are waiting for him to attempt the second hop to the Caymans." "Valerie, when will he do that?" "Sterling, he set up an autosweep for Monday morning at 9 a.m. As soon as the bank opens. He thinks he's being efficient. Monday morning. That meant I had the weekend. I decided to hold the party on Saturday night. I couldn't wait until Monday. I wanted to destroy him socially before the feds destroyed him legally. I wanted to see the look on his face when he realized his perfect life was a lie. I spent Friday night finalizing the guest list. I called Garrett's parents. "Hi, Mary," I said to his mother. "Listen, I want to do something special for Garrett. He's been working so hard. A surprise dinner. Just intimate family." "Oh, Valerie, you are such an angel," Mary gushed. "He is so lucky to have you. We'll be there." I called Monica's parents. They were harder to convince, but I told them Monica had just closed a huge deal, technically true, if theft counts as a deal, and we wanted to celebrate her success. I hired the security team. My dad insisted on it. "Garrett is a cornered rat," Dad warned me. "When he realizes the money isn't there, or when you expose him, he might snap. I want 2 armed guards in the kitchen and 1 at the front gate." "Okay, Dad," I agreed. Later that night, Garrett was in the shower. I seized the opportunity to check his iPad one last time. I wanted to make sure there weren't any other surprises. I opened his email trash folder. There was a confirmation email from a travel agency. Flight confirmation, Garrett Miller and Monica Davis. Destination, Rome, Italy. Date, next Tuesday. One way. He wasn't planning on staying 2 years. He lied to Monica too, or maybe the plan changed. They were leaving on Tuesday, the day after the money cleared. He was going to leave me with an empty bank account and a Dear John letter. But then I saw something else. An email drafted to a lawyer I didn't recognize. Subject, divorce strategy/incompetence. I need to know if I can commit her to a mental facility to gain full control of the remaining assets. She's been unstable lately, talking about missing jewelry and seeing things. My blood turned to ice. He wasn't just going to leave me. He was setting up a narrative that I was insane. If he couldn't steal the money, he was going to lock me away and take power of attorney that way. That's why he gaslighted me about the necklace. That's why he tried to drug me. He wanted a record of my instability. I closed the iPad. My hands were shaking. This wasn't just a bad marriage anymore. This was a fight for my life. "You want crazy?" I whispered. "I'll show you crazy." Saturday morning broke with a gray, ominous sky. The humidity was high, making the air feel thick and sticky. I woke up alone. Garrett had gone for a run, which I knew meant a strategy call with Monica. I lay in bed for a moment, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazily. This was the last time I would wake up in this bed as a married woman. I felt a strange sense of grief. Not for Garrett, he was a monster. But for the Valerie who used to sleep here. The Valerie who believed in fairy tales, who thought love was enough. She was dying today. I got up and went to the kitchen. The private chef, Henri, arrived at noon. He was bustling around, chopping vegetables, reducing sauces. The house smelled like truffle oil and roasted garlic. It smelled rich. It smelled like the life Garrett desperately wanted to maintain. Garrett came home at 2 p.m., sweaty and agitated. "Why are there catering vans in the driveway?" he asked, wiping his face with a towel. "Val, I told you, we need to be low profile until Monday." "Surprise!" I said, forcing a bright smile. "I told you, I wanted to celebrate. It's our anniversary week, and the deal is done. I invited a few people." "Who?" Garrett snapped. "Val, seriously? If your dad finds out we're throwing a party while he's being audited, he'll flip." "Just Monica," I said soothingly. "And your parents." "And Monica's parents. Just family." We have to keep up appearances, right? If we hide, it looks suspicious. He paused, considering this. I guess. My parents? Why? Because they love you, I said. And I want them to toast to your success. Your mom keeps asking why we haven't seen them. He puffed up a little. His ego was his Achilles heel. Well, I guess that's fine. It'll be nice to have Mom see me, winning. Exactly, I said. Go shower. Wear the navy suit. The one you wore to our wedding. Why that one? Because I like it, I said. It reminds me of the day we made our vows. He smirked. You really are sentimental, aren't you? Fine. I'll wear the suit. He went upstairs. I waited until I heard the shower running. Then I went to the living room and set up the projector. I connected my laptop. I tested the audio. Test. Test. The sound of Garrett's voice filled the room. Our marriage is awful. I'm only with her for the money. It was crisp. Clear. Perfect. I quickly shut it down before Henri could hear. I went upstairs to get dressed. I chose a black dress. It was sleek, backless, and elegant. It was a funeral dress, really. I was mourning the death of my marriage, but I was dressing for the funeral of his reputation. I put on my makeup. Sharp eyeliner. Red lipstick. War paint. I looked in the mirror. I didn't see the scared woman from the kitchen floor anymore. I saw a survivor. Showtime, Valerie. The doorbell rang at 6:30 p.m. It was Garrett's parents, Mary and John. They were sweet people, devoutly religious and hopelessly naive about their son's nature. They hugged me tight. Valerie, you look stunning, Mary said. Where is the birthday boy? Or anniversary boy? He's coming down, I said. Go on into the sunroom. There's champagne. Next came Monica's parents, Susan and Bob. They were a bit more reserved, but friendly. They had known me for years. Monica is parking, Susan said. She's so excited. She said you guys have big news? Is it a baby? I almost laughed. No, Susan. Not a baby. But definitely a new chapter. Monica walked in a moment later. She was wearing a red dress. Not just red, crimson. The color of blood. The color of a warning. It was cut low, aggressive, shouting for attention. Happy anniversary, she squealed, hugging me. She smelled like Santal 33 in Greed. I can't believe it's been 5 years. Feels like a lifetime, I said, smiling. Go on into the dining room. Chef Henri is serving appetizers. And then I saw it. She was wearing the necklace. My breath caught. She had the audacity to wear it to my house. To my face. She must have felt so untouchable, so victorious, that she wanted to flaunt her trophy right under my nose. She saw me looking at it. She touched the stone casually. Oh, do you like it? It's vintage. I found it at an estate sale yesterday. Liar. It's beautiful, I said, my voice barely a whisper. It looks very familiar. Does it? She smiled innocently. Maybe you saw something like it in a magazine. It's one of a kind. Garrett came down the stairs. He looked handsome in his wedding suit. He saw Monica, saw the necklace, and his eyes widened in absolute panic. He mouthed, "Take it off," to her. She ignored him. She tossed her hair. She was drunk on power. She thought she had already won. Everyone into the dining room. I announced. Dinner is served. We sat down. The tension was palpable to me, but the parents were oblivious, chatting about the weather and the local football team. Garrett was sweating. He kept glancing at the necklace, then at me, then at the door. I waited until the main course was served. Filet mignon with truffle mash. I stood up. I clinked my spoon against my glass. "Excuse me, everyone," I said. The room went quiet. "I'd like to make a toast." Garrett smiled nervously. "Babe, you don't have to dash." "I insist," I said. To Garrett. My husband of 5 years. To Garrett, the parents chorused, raising their glasses. "Garrett is a man of many talents," I continued. "He's ambitious. He's persuasive. And he's surprising." I walked over to the wall where the projector controls were mounted. I wanted to share a little video I made. A compilation of moments that define our marriage. And a special announcement about our future. "Oh, how sweet." Mary clapped her hands. Garrett looked relieved. He thought it was a montage of vacation photos. He thought I was playing the doting wife one last time. I pressed play. If you are still listening, please like this video and comment the number 1 below. It lets me know you are amazing, and I know you are with me on this journey. Your support is a huge encouragement to me. Comment 1 so I can recognize you, and now, listen to me tell the rest of my story. The screen descended slowly from the ceiling. The lights dimmed automatically. The first image wasn't a wedding photo. It was a scan of a receipt. Massive. High definition. Item: platinum sapphire necklace repair and resizing. Customer: Garrett Miller. Date: Tuesday, October 24th. The room went quiet. Dead quiet. The only sound was the rain tapping against the window. Monica's hand flew to her throat, covering the stone. "That's strange," I said, my voice cutting through the silence like a scalpel. "That looks just like the receipt for the necklace Monica is wearing right now. The one she found at an estate sale. But the receipt says Garrett picked it up on Tuesday. And that necklace, that belonged to my grandmother." Mary gasped. "Valerie? That's Nana Sterling's necklace?" "It is," I said. "Garrett stole it from my safe. To give to his mistress." "Mistress?" John, Garrett's father, stood up, knocking his chair back. "Valerie, what are you saying?" "I'm saying," I said, pressing the button again, "that your son is a thief. And a liar." The audio played next. The phone call. "Our marriage is awful. I'm only with her because of her family's money." Garrett's voice boomed through the speakers. It was unmistakable. Garrett jumped up. "Turn it off. Val, turn it off. It's out of context. It's AI. It's fake. Sit down." I screamed. It was a primal sound, a release of 5 years of suppressed rage. It was so loud that Henri dropped a pan in the kitchen. The recording continued. "Just wait a little longer, Monica. 2 years, max. She won't even see it coming. She's too comfortable." Monica's voice replied. "I'm getting tired of waiting." Susan, Monica's mother, put her hand over her mouth. She looked at her daughter with horror. "Monica? Is that you?" Monica was frozen. She looked like a deer in headlights. Then came the video. The bedroom video. I didn't let it play long, just enough to establish the location, my bed, and the people. I paused it on a frame of them laughing together. "You brought her into our bed," I said, looking at Garrett. "You defiled our home." Garrett looked at his parents. They were looking at him with absolute disgust. His mother was weeping into her napkin. And finally, I said, bringing up the bank documents. The fraud. Garrett attempted to wire $10 million of my father's trust fund into an offshore account, I explained to the silent room. He forged my signature on a power of attorney. He thought he was stealing from the Sterling Trust. I looked at Garrett. He was shaking his head, mumbling no, no, no. But here's the best part, Garrett, I smiled. I knew. Dad knew. The account you transferred the money to? It's not yours. It belongs to the FBI. Garrett's knees gave out. He collapsed back into his chair. The FBI? Wire fraud, I listed. Identity theft. Grand larceny. You're not rich, Garrett. You're done. The silence in the room was heavy, suffocating. Then, Garrett snapped. The realization that his life was over, that the money was gone, that he was going to prison, it broke something in his brain. The polished exterior cracked, revealing the violent narcissist underneath. He grabbed the steak knife from his plate. His eyes were wild. You bitch, he screamed, lunging across the table. You set me up. You ruined me. He scrambled over the centerpiece, kicking wine glasses onto the floor. He was coming for my throat. Garrett, no, his mother screamed. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. Because I saw the kitchen door open. Federal agents. Drop the weapon. It wasn't just my dad's security. It was the FBI. They had been waiting in the kitchen with my dad. Garrett froze. He looked at the agents, guns drawn. He looked at the knife in his hand. He looked at me. I smiled. A cold, hard smile. Go ahead, Garrett, I whispered. Add attempted murder to the list. Make it a life sentence. He dropped the knife. It clattered onto the china plate. Agents swarmed him. They slammed him against the wall, cuffing his hands behind his back. Garrett Miller, you are under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. Another agent walked over to Monica. Monica Davis? You're coming with us too. Conspiracy to commit fraud. No! Monica shrieked, clinging to the table. I didn't sign anything. It was him. He made me. We have the text messages, ma'am, the agent said, pulling her up. And the necklace you're wearing is reported stolen property. That's possession of stolen goods. They dragged them out. Past the weeping parents. Past the ruined dinner. As Garrett was shoved out the front door, he looked back at me one last time. His eyes were filled with hate. I loved you, he lied. Even at the end. No, I said. You loved the money. And now, you have neither. The silence after the police left was deafening. The kind of silence that rings in your ears. The parents were still sitting there, shell-shocked. Garrett's mom was sobbing quietly, her body shaking. Monica's dad was staring at the wall, unable to comprehend what his daughter had become. I am so sorry, Mary whispered to me, reaching out a trembling hand. I didn't know. We raised him better than this. We took him to church. We taught him right from wrong. I know you did, Mary, I said gently, taking her hand. This isn't your fault. Greed changes people. It rots them from the inside out. He's dead to me, John said, his voice cracking. A man who steals from his wife, from her family, he's no son of mine. I sent them home. I told them to get lawyers for their children, because they would need them. I felt a pang of pity for them. They were victims too. They had lost their children to their own sins. Then, my dad walked in from the kitchen. He walked over to the table, picked up a bottle of wine that hadn't been knocked over, a vintage Cabernet, and poured 2 glasses. He handed one to me. His hand was steady. "To freedom," he said. "To freedom," I clinked my glass. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the patio, watching the police tape flutter in the wind at the end of the driveway. The house felt huge and empty. The next morning, I went to the bank. I closed every joint account. I canceled every credit card. I changed the locks on the house, the cars, everything. I received a call from the detective handling the stolen property case. "Ms. Sterling," he said. "We recovered the necklace. We're keeping it as evidence for now, but you'll get it back." "Keep it," I almost said. But I stopped myself. That necklace was my grandmother's. It survived World War II. It could survive Monica. I started packing Garrett's things. Not neatly. I threw his expensive suits into garbage bags. I tossed his golf clubs into the donation pile. I erased him from the house, room by room. The divorce was not a battle. It was an execution. Garrett tried to fight at first. He hired a lawyer, a sleazy strip mall guy, because no reputable firm would touch him once the fraud allegations hit the news. He tried to claim I had entrapped him. He tried to claim spousal support, arguing that he had grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle. But the evidence was overwhelming. Mr. Sterling laid it all out in the deposition. The audio recordings. The video. The forged signatures. The bank transfers. The attempt to commit me to a mental institution. "Mr. Miller," Sterling said during the proceedings, looking at Garrett over his glasses. "We are offering you a deal. You sign the divorce papers, uncontested. You waive all rights to alimony, the house, and any marital assets. You agree to a restraining order. In exchange, Ms. Sterling will not press additional charges for the theft of her jewelry, which we also uncovered." "But the federal charges?" Garrett asked, sweating. He looked terrible. He had lost weight, his hair was unkempt. The prison food clearly didn't agree with him. "The federal charges are between you and the United States government," Sterling smiled. "We can't help you there. But if you sign this, maybe the judge will look kindly on your cooperation." Garrett signed. His hand shook so badly the pen tore the paper. Monica fared no better. The real estate board suspended her license pending investigation. The story of her affair with a client's husband, Garrett, technically counted, and the embezzlement scheme went viral in our local community. She lost her job at the agency. She was evicted from her downtown condo because she couldn't pay the mortgage without Garrett's stolen money. She tried to sue me for recording her without consent. The judge threw it out in 5 minutes, citing the fact that the recording was made in my car in my house, where she had no expectation of privacy while committing a crime. It took 3 months to finalize everything. Garrett avoided prison time by turning state's witness on a bigger fish. Apparently, the guy helping him set up the Cayman account was involved in some cartel money laundering. Garrett ratted him out to save his own skin. He got probation and community service. But his career in finance was over. You can't handle other people's money when you're a known fraudster. He was blacklisted from every bank in the country. Last I heard, he was working as a manager at a car rental place near the airport. He lives in a small apartment complex on the edge of town. He tried to reach out to me once, a long email about redemption and second chances. I didn't delete it. I printed it out and burned it in the fireplace. It felt ceremonial. Monica moved back to her hometown in Ohio. She works in retail now. I heard from a mutual friend that she and Garrett scream at each other over the phone sometimes, blaming each other for the downfall. They hate each other. That's the thing about relationships built on greed and lies. When the money runs out, the love, if it ever existed, evaporates like smoke. They are miserable, and they are miserable apart. 6 months after the divorce, I stood in front of a brick building in the Arts District. The sign above the door was being installed. Sterling Interiors and Gallery. I had done it. I stopped hiding behind a man. I stopped playing the role of the supportive wife and started playing the lead role in my own life. Dad stood next to me, leaning on his cane. He looked older, tired, but his eyes were bright. "You did good, Val," he said. "This is better than any trust fund." "We did good, Dad," I replied. The gallery opening was a success. I showcased local artists and offered my design services. It wasn't just a hobby, it was a business. And I was good at it. I was really, really good at it. One evening, a man walked in. He wasn't wearing a flashy suit. He was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, with sawdust on his boots. He was a custom furniture maker I had commissioned for a few pieces. "Hey, Valerie," he said, smiling. His name was Ben. He had kind eyes. Eyes that actually looked at me, not through me. "I finished that table you ordered. Want to see it?" "I'd love to," I said. We went to dinner that night. We split the check. We talked about wood grain and architecture. He didn't ask about my trust fund. He didn't ask about my dad's empire. He asked about my sketches. I don't know if Ben is the one. I'm not in a rush to find the one anymore. I'm happy being the one for myself. But it's nice. It's nice to be around a man who doesn't smell like deception. I learned that happiness isn't something you find in a marriage certificate or a big house. It's something you build, day by day, with truth and integrity. So, that's my story. It started with a phone call I wasn't supposed to hear. It ended with a life I never thought I was strong enough to build. To all the women out there listening, especially those of you who feel like you're too old to start over, or too comfortable to leave, or too scared to face the truth. Listen to that voice in your head. The one that says something is off. The one that notices the perfume, or the late nights, or the missing money. Don't silence it. Don't let anyone convince you that you are clueless or needy. You are intuitive. You are powerful. And if you find out that the people you love are betraying you, don't just get mad. Get smart. Get everything in writing. And then, take them down. Because the best revenge isn't screaming or fighting. The best revenge is living a life so full, so rich, and so happy that they become nothing more than a footnote in your biography. Garrett and Monica thought they could break me. They thought I was fragile. But diamonds are made under pressure. And honey, I'm shining brighter than ever. Thank you for listening. Valerie's journey reminds us that our greatest strength often emerges when we're faced with our deepest betrayals. In a world where we're taught to doubt our intuition, her story stands as a testament to the power of trusting ourselves. The quiet voice that whispers something isn't right deserves our attention, not dismissal. When life shatters our illusions, we have a choice: remain among the broken pieces or use them to build something new and beautiful. The most profound transformation isn't in how Valerie reclaimed her financial security or exposed the truth, but in how she reclaimed herself. She discovered that self-worth isn't determined by another person's validation or by maintaining appearances. True empowerment comes from within, from having the courage to face uncomfortable truths and the resilience to rebuild with authenticity. Her story isn't just about revenge, it's about renaissance. Perhaps the most valuable lesson here is that it's never too late to rewrite your story. The ending you thought was written for you can become merely a chapter in a much grander narrative. Have you ever had to trust your instincts when everyone else was telling you that you were wrong? Have you found strength in yourself that you didn't know existed? Share your thoughts below, or simply comment good if this story resonated with the warrior within you.